The desert encounter. The sun burned fiercely over the endless desert plains of Zorath, casting long, harsh shadows across the cracked ground. Jake, a human trader, drove his small salvage rover slowly, scanning the horizon for anything useful or valuable. He had traveled this planet many times, but something about today felt different. A chill of unease ran down his spine. As he rounded a jagged ridge, a small, battered sign caught his eye, fluttering in the hot wind. It was written in broken English and alien symbols. "Take her for a bottle of liquor." Jake squinted, unsure if it was a joke, a trap, or a warning. But curiosity made him stop. He stepped out of the rover, the sand scorching his boots, and walked toward the sign. The wind whispered, carrying strange scents of ozone and dust. His heart thumped louder with every step. Suddenly he saw her, a small alien girl tied to a wooden post. Her skin shimmered faintly green in the sunlight, and her eyes were wide with fear. She was no older than 12, and her delicate frame trembled as she struggled against the rough ropes. Jake's chest tightened. He could not ignore this. She looked lost, alone, and desperate. The sign's message became cruelly clear. Someone had left her here to be sold like an object. A bottle of liquor for a child. Rage and pity filled Jake at the same time. He scanned the empty desert around him, but there was no one in sight. No one to answer questions or to demand a ransom. Only the wind and distant mountains watched. He knelt before her, speaking softly. "It's okay. You're safe now." But she did not understand the words. Her alien language was strange, melodic and unintelligible, yet her eyes softened slightly, a tiny glimmer of trust appearing. He tugged at the ropes, careful not to hurt her, and freed her arms first. Then he lifted her gently, feeling the weight of her small body. She did not resist, only shivered in his arms. The wind tugged at her hair, revealing streaks of silver and purple that sparkled faintly. She was like nothing Jake had ever seen, beautiful and fragile. Yet there was something in her eyes, a quiet strength that told him she had survived worse. He carried her to his rover, keeping low and scanning the horizon constantly. Shadows flickered in the distance, and Jake could not shake the feeling that someone was watching. Perhaps the ones who left her would return, or perhaps worse creatures roamed these plains. He placed her on the seat, offering water and a small blanket he always kept for emergencies. She hesitated, then accepted both, holding the blanket tightly. Her gaze darted to Jake, and he nodded reassuringly. "I'll take care of you," he said, more determined than ever, engines humming. The rover lifted off the sand, leaving the sign and the lonely desert behind. Jake stole a glance at the girl, who had curled slightly, and felt a strange connection. She was no longer just an alien he rescued. She was now a passenger in his life, and somehow he knew their fates were intertwined. The sun dipped lower, casting long shadows across the dunes. The journey had begun, and danger lurked unseen. The audience could feel the suspense, wondering who left her there and who might come for her next. The silent passenger. The rover's engines hummed steadily as Jake navigated the rough desert terrain. The alien girl sat quietly beside him, her small hands clutching the blanket tightly. She didn't speak, but her glowing eyes followed every movement, studying him with a mixture of fear and curiosity. Jake glanced at her, wondering what she had endured before he found her. Her silence weighed heavily on him, but he knew patience was the key. He offered a bottle of water, holding it out slowly. She hesitated, then took it, her hands trembling, sipping cautiously. Her lips pressed together, and she swallowed nervously. Jake nodded. "Good. That's brave," he murmured, though she could not understand his words. His tone seemed to calm her slightly. The rover kicked up clouds of dust as it moved, and every shadow in the desert looked like a threat. Jake's senses were sharp, scanning for any sign of pursuit. He knew someone or something had left her here for a reason, and danger might not be far behind as they drove. He tried to communicate using gestures, pointing to himself, then to her, mimicking simple words. Slowly she began to respond, pointing at her chest, then at him, signaling that she understood. She wanted to trust him, but fear still lingered. Jake smiled, encouraging her, and she relaxed a little, leaning against the seat. The rover's dashboard flickered, and he noticed signals from nearby patrol drones. Someone was tracking this girl, whether to reclaim her or to harm her. Jake's heart pounded. He pushed the rover faster, weaving through rocks and sand dunes. The girl clutched his arm, not in fear, but in a silent plea for protection. Jake felt a surge of responsibility. He had rescued her, and now it was his duty to keep her safe. Suddenly she made a small noise, a soft humming sound. Strange, melodic, and almost musical. Jake stopped the rover for a moment. Listening, it seemed like a word or a name. But he didn't understand. She repeated it softly, pointing toward the horizon. Then with a small gesture she indicated her hands, showing him the ropes that had bound her. A memory of pain flashed in her glowing eyes. Jake's stomach twisted. Anger burned inside him at the thought of whoever treated her like this. He gripped the steering controls tighter, determined to take her somewhere safe. The desert stretched endlessly, but Jake knew of a hidden canyon where the patrol drones would not follow. He steered toward it, the girl's small hand brushing his arm occasionally, as if asking silently for reassurance. As night began to fall, the temperature dropped sharply. The rover's heat system hummed. Keeping them warm, the girl's shivering slowed, and she finally rested her head against his shoulder. Jake felt a strange bond forming despite her alien nature. Her presence comforted him in ways he did not expect. Outside, the desert sky turned deep purple, filled with distant stars. Shadows of unknown creatures moved across the dunes, making him tense. Every sound made him alert. But the girl seemed safe for now. The first step of their journey was over, but both knew this was only the beginning. Whoever had left her there would not stop easily, and Jake would have to be smarter, faster, and braver than he had ever been. The audience could feel the tension, the silent understanding between the human and the alien girl, both alone in a vast, dangerous desert, yet somehow connected by fate. Their journey together had truly begun. A stranger's story, the hidden canyon stretched before Jake, jagged cliffs casting long shadows over the rocky path. He guided the rover carefully, avoiding loose stones that could topple them both. The alien girl sat quietly, her glowing eyes scanning the cliffs as if sensing danger. Jake stole glances at her, noting the faint streaks of silver and purple in her hair that caught the fading light. He wondered what kind of life she had before this. What horrors had led her to be tied to a sign in the desert? At last they stopped near a small cave. Hidden behind boulders, Jake turned off the rover, and the sudden silence felt heavy. The alien girl hesitated, then stepped out, touching the rough stones, exploring slowly. Her small hands traced patterns in the dust as if trying to read messages left behind. Jake sat beside her, speaking softly, hoping to calm her. "You're safe here for now," he said. She tilted her head, her large eyes meeting his. Then, in her soft, melodic voice, she spoke a word, broken and strange. Jake listened carefully, unable to understand. But there was a rhythm, almost like a song. It sounded sad, but also hopeful. She repeated the word, pointing to herself, then to her chest. And finally to him as Jake tried to piece it together. She gestured toward the desert and mimed chains and pain. He realized she was telling him about the ropes, about being captured, about being sold. His chest tightened, anger and sorrow flooding him. The cruelty of whoever had done this burned inside him. He promised silently that he would not let anyone hurt her again. Then she made another gesture, pointing to her people, an imaginary family, and shaking her head, signaling loss. Jake understood. She had been separated from her family, forced into slavery. He felt a deep sense of responsibility. Not only had he rescued her, but now he carried the burden of protecting her from forces far stronger than he. Night fell, and the canyon became dark and cold. The girl huddled in the blanket, shivering. Jake handed her a small bottle of water and a few rations he carried. She accepted them slowly, and for the first time, Jake saw a small smile, fleeting yet filled with trust as they rested. Distant sounds echoed through the canyon, strange movements, faint whispers, and the occasional metallic clang. Jake's instincts screamed danger. Whoever had left her in the desert might be searching still. Perhaps with drones, perhaps with hunters. He set up a small sensor, detecting vibrations and movements nearby. It confirmed his fear. Someone was tracking them. Jake glanced at the girl, her eyes wide and alert. She seemed aware of the danger too. Her small hands clenched into fists, as if preparing silently to defend herself. He realized then that she was not as helpless as she looked, despite her size. Her intelligence and quick thinking might save them both. Jake's mind raced, planning their next move. The canyon offered temporary safety, but it could not hide them forever. He needed a plan, someone he could trust, and a way to get the girl to a place where she truly belonged. For now, all he could do was keep her close, stay alert, and hope that their luck held. The night was long, filled with shadows and distant echoes. The girl slept lightly, her breathing calm but cautious. Jake remained awake, scanning, thinking, and silently vowing he would not let her be taken again. The audience felt the suspense, wondering what dangers awaited them in the coming days, and whether this strange human-alien bond could survive the harsh galaxy that threatened to tear them apart. The hidden safe house. The sun had just begun to rise over the canyon, painting the rocks with streaks of gold and orange. Jake and the alien girl remained near the entrance of the cave, waiting, listening to the quiet desert winds. The previous night had been tense. Every sound outside the canyon seemed like a threat. He scanned the horizon with binoculars, hoping to see no sign of their pursuers. For now it was calm, but calm could change in a heartbeat. The girl, small and cautious, moved slowly around the cave, touching the walls, her fingers tracing the rough surfaces. She seemed to sense something in the stones, as if the canyon held secrets that only she could understand. Jake watched her closely, impressed by her intelligence and focus. He realized that saving her was only the first step. Now he needed to teach her to survive with him. At the far end of the cave, he spotted an old storage room. Hidden behind a pile of rocks, its metal door was rusted but intact. Jake approached it, opening it carefully. Inside, he found old tools, crates, and some broken machinery, perfect for building a temporary safe house. He began arranging the supplies, creating a small living area for them both. The girl observed silently, then moved to help, lifting small crates and pushing objects with surprising strength for her size. Jake noticed that she was not helpless at all. She had skills he hadn't expected. She even touched a broken console. Her hands moving quickly over buttons and levers, sparks flew as she repaired a small device. Making it work again, Jake stepped back, amazed. She had turned a pile of junk into a functioning alarm system. Capable of detecting intruders, his admiration for her grew. But so did his concern. The desert was not safe, and someone would come looking for her, probably soon. Shadows outside shifted, and the wind carried strange noises. Jake's heart beat faster. He instructed the girl to stay inside while he checked the perimeter. She obeyed silently, her glowing eyes watching him leave. He walked carefully around the cave, scanning for tracks, sensors, or any sign of movement. A distant humming sound reached his ears, faint but steady. Could it be a drone, or a scout looking for the girl? He could not be sure. He returned quickly, finding the girl waiting quietly. Her small face betrayed no fear, but her eyes told him she understood danger. Jake nodded to her, impressed by her courage. Together they arranged the cave, setting up traps and warning signals. Every crate, every piece of metal had a purpose. Their small safe house was beginning to feel like a real shelter, a place where they could plan their next move. As they worked, the girl began to hum softly, the same melodic sound from before. Jake listened and felt a strange calm somehow, her presence. Her song gave him strength. They might be small, they might be alone, but together, they could survive. The canyon walls rose high, hiding them from prying eyes, yet the danger outside remained. Lurking and silent, waiting for the wrong moment, Jake looked at the girl and whispered, "We will make it through this." She nodded slightly, her trust in him growing. The audience felt the tension, the hope, and the strange bond forming between human and alien. For now they were safe, but the galaxy beyond the canyon promised challenges, and every shadow might hold another threat. Their journey had only grown more dangerous, but also more exciting. Safe for now, but the journey continues. The hidden chamber glowed softly from the lights the stranger had activated. Casting long shadows on the walls, Jake watched the alien girl explore freely, her glowing hands brushing over shelves filled with strange devices. She seemed fascinated yet cautious. Her laughter was soft and musical, a sound Jake had almost forgotten existed. It was a sound of relief and trust. For the first time since the desert, she appeared relaxed. Yet Jake's instincts warned him that safety was temporary. He moved to a small console and scanned the galaxy for pursuers. The signals were faint but unmistakable, distant ships moving through the outer systems, searching for the girl. Whoever had sold her or left her in the desert had not given up. The danger was not over. Only temporarily delayed, the stranger approached, their cloak moving silently across the floor. "They are still out there," they said. Voice calm but firm. "We have time, but not much." Jake nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility. He looked at the girl who now sat quietly on a crate. Her hands folded in her lap, she glanced up at him. her glowing eyes meeting his, and he knew she trusted him completely. That trust filled him with determination. They were no longer just survivor and rescued. They were a team bound by circumstance and courage. The stranger guided them to a hidden exit, a tunnel leading to a small landing pad where a ship could wait. "You need to leave soon," the stranger warned. "The longer you stay, the more likely they will find you." Jake nodded. Understanding the urgency, he glanced back at the girl, who gave him a small, brave smile. Her courage had grown since he found her tied to that sign. Now she was ready to face the dangers ahead. Jake helped her climb into the ship, securing her in a seat that fit her small frame. He double-checked the controls, ensuring everything was ready as the engines roared to life. The chamber below faded into darkness. The ship lifted off, moving through the canyon tunnels with surprising speed. The alien girl leaned against him slightly, her hands brushing his arm. A small gesture of trust and gratitude. Jake felt a rare warmth in his chest. He realized that rescuing her had changed him as well. They were not just running from danger. They were moving toward something unknown. A new life, a new journey. The galaxy stretched out before them, filled with stars, planets, and countless possibilities. And yet, with every new horizon came the threat of pursuers. The alien girl whispered something in her melodic tongue, pointing to the stars outside. Jake did not understand the words, but the meaning was clear. She was hopeful, dreaming of freedom, safety, and perhaps a family again. Jake smiled faintly, squeezing her hand gently. "We'll find it," he promised, though the path ahead remained uncertain. As the ship soared above the desert, the canyon shrinking beneath them, Jake realized that this was only the beginning of their adventure. The galaxy was vast, dangerous, and full of surprises, but together, human and alien girl, with their mysterious ally, they could face it. The story ended with their ship disappearing into the starry night, leaving the audience on edge, wondering what challenges awaited them. The tension, hope, and bond between them promised more adventures, and viewers felt the pull of curiosity, eager to follow the next chapter in this HFY Sci-Fi journey. The first threat, the day had grown hotter, the canyon walls glowing red under the sun's harsh glare. Jake moved cautiously around the hidden safe house, checking the perimeter. He had left makeshift traps near the entrance to warn of intruders. The alien girl watched him, her glowing eyes alert and focused. She had learned quickly how to help, lifting small stones and covering footprints to hide their presence. Jake admired her quick thinking, but he could not relax. Danger was never far in the desert. A sudden shimmer on the horizon caught his attention, and his heart sank. Figures appeared, moving swiftly toward the canyon, armed and confident. The smugglers who had sold the girl, or someone working for them, had found the trail. Jake's mind raced. He quickly signaled the girl to stay inside, and she obeyed, moving silently to a corner behind crates. She held her breath, listening intently. Every sound outside seemed louder. The attackers were closing in, their voices harsh and alien, ordering each other. Jake could not understand all the words, but the tone made the threat clear. They had come for the girl, and they would not leave empty-handed. He crouched behind a rock, calculating. There was no time for a fight if they wanted to survive. He needed strategy, not strength. Slowly, he activated one of the girl's devices, a small sensor she had repaired the night before. It emitted a faint pulse and a soft beep when anyone stepped too close. One of the pursuers froze, then turned, signaling others. Their confusion gave Jake precious seconds. He motioned for the girl to help. She moved to a nearby control panel, using her small hands to activate a trap. A pile of rocks tumbled down a narrow chute, blocking the intruder's path. Shouts rang out as the attackers scrambled, trying to clear the stones. Jake and the girl moved silently to another part of the cave. Hidden from view, he could feel his pulse pounding, and the girl mirrored his tension. But she did not panic, her eyes glimmered with courage, and Jake realized she had inherited more than innocence. She had survival instincts beyond her years. The attackers were persistent, attempting to climb the canyon walls. But Jake and the girl had already hidden deeper in the cave, using shadows and narrow passages to their advantage. Every step the pursuers took seemed louder, closer, more dangerous. Jake's grip tightened on the girl's small hand. Their silent understanding kept them coordinated. The canyon echoed with the sounds of struggle outside. Stones falling, distant cursing, and occasional metallic clangs, yet inside, Jake and the girl remained hidden, their hearts racing. Every second was a test. Every movement could reveal them. Hours passed, though it felt like minutes. The sun began to sink, turning the sky to deep orange. The attackers finally moved away, frustrated by the traps and the hidden passages. Jake and the girl cautiously peeked out, seeing the last shadows disappear over the canyon edge. Relief washed over them, but only briefly. Jake knew this was only the first attempt. The desert and the galaxy beyond would continue hunting them. He turned to the girl, who gave him a small, brave smile. Her trust in him had grown, and he felt a protective surge. Together, they had survived the first threat, but the road ahead was long, dangerous, and filled with uncertainty. The audience felt the tension, the fear, and the thrill of survival, eager to see how Jake and the girl would continue their journey through a hostile galaxy. An unexpected ally. The desert night had fallen, and the canyon grew cold and quiet. Jake and the alien girl huddled inside their hidden safe house, listening to the distant winds. The attacks from earlier still echoed in their minds, but for now they were safe, or so it seemed. Jake scanned the night sky through a narrow crack in the cave wall, searching for any signs of movement. Stars twinkled far above, but one flicker caught his attention. A strange ship appeared in the distance, sleek and unfamiliar, moving silently between the canyons. Its shape was unlike any human or known alien design. The girl's eyes widened, her glowing skin reflecting the faint light of the ship. She whispered a single word in her melodic tongue. Pointing toward the ship Jake did not understand, but her reaction made it clear. This ship was not a threat. Curious and cautious, Jake waited, watching as the ship slowly descended. Landing on a rocky plateau a short distance away, a hatch opened and a figure emerged, cloaked and mysterious, their movements precise and careful. They scanned the canyon and then locked eyes with Jake. Raising a hand in greeting, Jake felt a flicker of hope but also caution. He had learned that trust in this galaxy was dangerous. He called softly to the girl, who nodded, understanding the need for careful observation. Slowly, Jake stepped out, the girl following quietly. Staying hidden behind rocks, the stranger approached, voice calm. "I am not here to harm you," they said. Their words were simple but firm. "I know the child you carry, and I can help." Jake's heart raced. He studied the figure, unsure if they were friend or foe, but the girl's reaction was clear. She reached out slightly, a small smile breaking through her fear. Recognition sparkled in her eyes. The stranger's presence seemed familiar to her, perhaps a friend from her past or someone sent by those who cared for her. Without hesitation, Jake and the girl moved closer. Meeting the stranger at the edge of the plateau, the stranger nodded, approving of the girl's trust, and gestured for them to follow. Together they entered a hidden network of tunnels beneath the canyon. The stranger led them expertly, avoiding detection from any patrols. Jake noticed the girl's small hands brushing over markings on the walls. Guiding them in some way, her alien instincts seemed to sync with the tunnels, making their movements smooth and swift. As they reached a large chamber, the stranger paused. "Here you will be safe," they said, showing a hidden safe area filled with supplies, technology, and concealed exits. Jake's eyes widened. This was far better than any hideout he could have imagined. The girl explored eagerly, her laughter soft and musical. The first sound of joy in days, Jake felt a rare sense of relief. For a moment, the tension lifted and hope returned. Yet the stranger warned cautiously. "The danger has not passed, and pursuers are still searching. You must remain vigilant." Jake nodded, understanding the gravity of the warning. The girl held his hand, looking up at him with trust and a flicker of excitement. Their journey had gained a new ally, a guide, and a safe place to rest. But the galaxy beyond the canyon remained unpredictable. Full of threats and enemies, Jake knew they had only survived this stage. The audience felt the suspense rise again, eager to see how this unexpected ally would change the course of their dangerous journey. Together, human, alien girl, and stranger, prepared for the challenges ahead, ready to face the galaxy's dangers as a new team.